Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We have bellied up here on the first Wednesday in April. It is April 2nd, and we have got a good one today. He's got a name that, thanks to Keenan and Peele, he's been absolutely abused by it, but that's all right because we're going to take good care of him because I got a cousin named there with the same name. So we're going to take good care of him. So joining us all the way from some part in Texas, which I don't know and you can't know because it's all a government secret, it's Mr. Air. And he's got a great, listen, real quick, he's also got a great name for like a Marvel, like I'm gonna be honest with you, it's got like kind of a Marvel villain name. I'm gonna let you know that it's Mr. Aaron Rokstad.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me on the Above the Bar podcast.
Absolutely, brother. You know, it's like it does have kind of like a Marvel villain kind of Rokstad. Like at any minute, somebody be like, "Don't you know Rokstad weapons? They're everywhere." Like, I love it, man. So, alrighty, folks. So Aaron's joining us. We're going to be talking about what it really takes to go from nothing to something, back down and back up. A real entrepreneurial story of how one person with the right team around him can make anything happen. So we're going to get into that here in a minute with Aaron. But real quick, as always, folks, over my right shoulder, it's the big board for Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you believe, something you're supporting, something you want people to know about, and you've got a sticker to go with it, reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Our website is the Above the Bar Podcast.com. Our email is the Above the Bar Podcast at gmail.com. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on. We'll read about you live here on the air. Put your sticker on the big board so everybody can see it each week. So again, folks, that's Sticker and a Cause. Next thing, we got to talk about the folks that pay the bills, and their headquarters are actually right there in the Dallas area. That is Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie. They are locally owned window treatment companies with a big backing all over the country. They are international. And right now, if you're in the capital region and you're around that Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie, for the month of April, they are running 25% off of all drapery. So if you're looking to really soften a space up around your home, looking to spruce things up, and you want some custom drapery, real custom drapery. We're not talking J.C. Penney's, nothing against those, nothing against drapery panels, but we're talking real custom stuff. You reach out to them, they're going to give you 25% off. And as always, if you let them know you're there to belly up to the bar, they're going to give you another 5% off of that order. So you get 30% off with custom drapery. That's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie. They're heck of a names, aren't they, Aaron?
They
So,
are.
listen, I mean, you get out here on the East Coast, and there's like some wacky names. You ever been to Philly?
I have been to Philly, yes, sir.
The best one is when you try to take people across the Schuylkill,
True.
and people go, "I have no idea what that even says." So, and for all of you that have just joined us, this is going to be super simple. Do us a favor, give us a like, share, follow, all those cliche things. I know it's what they sound like. A lot of you are watching right now on YouTube. Follow that YouTube channel. It makes a big difference. It's how people find out about Aaron's story. It's how they find out about our story and all of our guests. So give that like, share, follow. So folks, this is live. So if you drop a comment in the chats, you got questions for Aaron, we can answer those questions right here live on the air. So did I cover it all, Aaron? You think we're good?
I think you're good, Sean.
I think we're good. So let me make sure I got this right. I want to make sure I got everything taken care of here. So you have 15 year leadership experience, North America, developing different range of businesses. The biggest one though of all of them, and I love this, bootstrapped a startup energy company. Bro,
Yes, sir.
that's big. Now, you were Rokstad Power. What was, if you could talk about it, what was their part in the power energy world?
So we built a lot of transmission lines from generation sites to load centers. So, kind of the middle of nowhere, wind farm, solar farm, hydroelectric dam, all the way down to, city where it gets consumed. And we also do a lot of work in and around those towns on the overhead power lines, including when wind blows through or there's an ice storm. We're first response on the ground. In fact, our company was first responders to the fires in Lahaina a couple years ago on Maui.
Oh wow, the big like that was all over the news.
Yes, sir.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that about power, and you can explain it better than I can. I think most of us think like, hey, the power plant also runs my wires, also runs everything. Like here where I live, we have a company called National Grid. I refer to them as it's National Grid, but um, I think most people think that their job is everything from the power plant to my microwave, but that isn't the case, is it?
It really depends on where you live. There's some areas where, for example, National Grid, yeah, they do everything from getting the power wholesale all the way to getting it to you. Um, but a lot of the utilities are buying power from generators themselves. And then where we come into play as a contractor or as an extension of the utility is they've got a certain amount of workforce in-house, and we tend to do the wild and wonderful projects that their folks don't do. We consider ourselves, I guess, to use a military term, Sean, we're kind of like the Navy SEALs. We go in there and do the hard work. Our guys are hanging from helicopters, working on energized 500,000 volt lines, some pretty wild stuff.
Oh my
It's
god.
definitely one of those things where when people come home and flick their light on and their lights come on, there's not a lot of thought to the men and women behind that make that happen.
Yeah, nobody considers that what it takes to have that power. I mean, what is it they say? If when power truly, because we're so used to it, you know, it's nothing. Like chaos is what about 3 days away? They say.
Exactly.
Yes, I mean you guys are a pretty integral part of that, and really even putting it further in perspective, we're only what maybe 120, 140 years of actual electricity the way we understand it.
Absolutely. And, in my career, I've come across some of those original wires and poles that are out there, 100+ years old,
Still working.
still working, still up.
Wow, that's wild. Look, folks, and again, we've got Aaron Rokstad on as we're talking, Aaron. If you want to follow Aaron or see what he's got going on, you can go to Instagram at Aaron and it's Aaron, Aaron Rokstad, Rokstad. He's on Instagram. You can see what he's got going on there, ventures. So you start this bootstrap company, and for people that don't understand, what does that really mean to bootstrap a company?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I had a little bit of a turbo boost in my bootstrap phase. I grew up in a family of linemen. My grandfather had worked for the utility back where I'm from. My dad started a company in the same space when I was just a kid. So I grew up in this trade. On the weekends, my dad would drag me in to clean off the trucks and clean them all up. And I knew a lot of linemen growing up. So when I decided to leave and start this business, it was because I was already had 6 years working for my dad in his business. He ended up selling his business to the largest player in our space, and that whole corporate scene just wasn't for me. So when I left and started Rokstad, I was 30 years old. I borrowed $100,000 a home equity line of credit, and got this company started. And I didn't take a paycheck for about a year and a half. And I mean, you learn how to survive when you're trying to get a business going and you're throwing everything into it.
I want to stay with that for a second. Something you just said about when you start a business, that whole like, hey, I got to do what I got to do to get this thing really going. How hard was that? And I know myself as a small business owner, I've still never taken a paycheck. Um, and I'm 2 years into it. I mean, I know what it was for me, but for yourself, how hard was that to understand that, like, no, 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 Friday's here. You're not getting a check.
Yeah. It definitely took some getting used to. I mean, you really are forced to look at the budget. You know, what is mandatory, what is a luxury item. And I love telling the story to my kids. For the first sort of couple years, we were in that house. We didn't have any living room or dining room furniture in there. I had a poker table and a foosball table as part of the decor. And, it wasn't, you're grinding it out 7 days a week, and you're the secretary, the treasurer, the president, everything. Those sorts of things don't and didn't matter. But, I always knew that if we could get to some critical mass, get it up to a certain size, and that's certainly what happened. All of that stuff would come through, and it did.
And I think I already know the answer to my next question, because as many entrepreneurs as I've talked to, as many as I've worked with, I get the same answer. Would you trade any of that for a 9 to 5?
Not a damn thing.
Not one.
Not one.
What do you think it is for those of us that walk into that entrepreneurial space? Why once we get there and we kind of look around and we go, it's not as scary on the other side of this, that we're like, no, I'm never going back.
Yeah. I used to think it was a control thing, not having a boss or freedom. But I think once you take that jump and sure, you don't have someone breathing over your neck, but you've got hundreds of different responsibilities that you're carrying on your shoulders. Because not only are you trying to make bread and put food on the table, but you've now got customers, you've now got employees. The responsibility changes, and I think there's something in there that I'll go back to your Marvel example a little bit earlier. It kind of unlocks, if you've got the grit to do it, it kind of unlocks this, sort of like this tribal responsibility thing awakens in you to you feel like you're giving back, you're creating jobs, you are part of what makes the country and the Western society of what it is, and you become a part of that, and it gets addicting. And thinking about going back, and no disrespect to the 9 to 5ers out there, but I think that's an entrepreneur's worst nightmare, being put in a box and not being able to create and disrupt and make change and push and all those things that come with having your own business.
I love that you said disrupt, because I mean that's that, and the other thing I've learned, this is the only time in my life where I created money. And people don't understand that when I say that, like, no, I've created money. They're like, well, you create money when you go to a job. No, I don't. Somebody else hands me money for my time. When you're an entrepreneur, you physically create, like, somebody pulls out a credit card and pays for something with money that didn't exist, and through your actions they just created it and you entered it into the world as a thing. I mean, it's exciting.
It
Every
really
time.
is.
I get excited. So you're running Rokstad. Things are going great. And again, folks, if you're those of you that are watching us live, if you've got questions for Aaron, you want to know more about what happened here and how this process has gone for him, please drop your comments there. We can answer them right away. Make sure you give him that like, share, or follow. But so you're running Rokstad. Things are going great. Things are awesome. But what happened?
Yeah. Well, before the sort of big thing happened, again, I feel like I was prepped for that, because we had another big thing happen a few years before that. So in 2014, we went out and we raised equity to help come in and shore up the balance sheet of the business. And we saw this opportunity to, like I said, go and do these massive transmission projects that were coming. And those take a lot of cash. They take a lot of capital, working capital, that sort of thing. And we found this company out of the UK called Carillion. They work for UK Power Networks. They were a big company in the UK, second largest construction publicly traded business in the UK.
Oh, wow.
They were moving over to North America, and they made an investment in this business. And so we formed that partnership at the end of 2014. And in 4 years, we doubled the revenue of the business. And, by all accounts, everything was going great. But we didn't know, because it had nothing to do with our business or the North American operations. But they hired a new CFO in London, and some whistleblowers on the way out blew some whistles on their financial practices. And the entire company evaporated in about 2 weeks. They had 50,000 people. They were doing 5 billion pounds of revenue a year. And the UK government decided not to bail them out. And they didn't even go into restructuring, what we know as bankruptcy protection, anything like that. They went straight to liquidation. And I remember I got a call at 11 p.m. because it's 7 a.m. London time. And it was the CEO of the North American business saying, "We're going out of business. I'm sorry. That's going to mean that the investment we've got in your business is going to hurt your business." And that's exactly what happened. They were providing all the credit facilities. We were basically leveraging their balance sheet to grow. We had these hundreds of miles of construction on transmission lines underway, and boom, in a matter of like 2 weeks, this happened. But we didn't quit. We stuck with it. And in August of that year of 2018, the Rokstad family, because I'm in business here with my dad, we're partners.
Okay.
We ended up buying the business back for around 10 cents on the dollar of what they paid us. So we got the business back, we saved it. This is 2018, and boom, we're rolling, having sort of lived through something like that. And
Wow.
yeah, so that was the sort of the first turbulence on the flight that we had.
Bro, that's like an Enron kind of thing.
That's what they call them. They call them the British Enron. It's brilliant. British Enron. People went to jail. Like, it was ugly.
Like wow, just hearing that, like all of a sudden, just everything. So 2018, you and Dad pull it back together.
Yeah.
Pennies on the dollar. We're back. We're rocking and rolling. Things are
We're
happening because
rolling.
you know how to run your business.
That's right.
Which is a huge thing. If you have a good foundation, you can run anything. So that's moving along. You get things back going. What happens next?
So when we got the business back, we were back to where we were at the beginning of 2014, which is, we're not going to be able to participate in these bigger projects. We need to go and find more maintenance type projects and set up depots or yards around different states and that sort of thing, and work for the local utilities on their maintenance plans. So we call that distribution work. It's the lower voltage in your neighborhood, changing poles, responding to storm, all of that stuff. So the helicopters are gone, and all the big construction cranes, all that stuff's gone. Now we're doing the residential neighborhood stuff, which is still part of a great part of the business. So between 2018 and 2022, when that's back when the business was owned privately again, we grew that business again to higher revenues than what we had when we were with the UK business. So we got to around 1,100 people. We hit around 500 million in revenue in our peak year, and we were everywhere from Hawaii, California, Texas, Canada. Like, we were working everywhere, and at that time is when we lost our largest customer. We ended up having an accident on a utilities property in California, and we ended up losing our largest customer, which is about 50% of our revenue. So we pivoted the strategy again. We knew that we had all of these people, all of this, revenue generating resource that was there. We moved them to Michigan. We ended up getting work in. You asked about Philly earlier. We set up in Philly. It was a great story around how to persevere when, trying to replace revenue when you lose your largest customer, which for any entrepreneur out there is a really scary thing to go through. So that's sort of what has led to the recent event, because as we did that, going through the cost it takes to demobilize out of California, Northern California, get these other areas set up. We've got these areas, new areas set up. We're delivering. Our customers love us. Philosophy of ours is not just customer satisfaction, it's customer delight. Like if we aren't doing something that is completely different than what our competitors do, we're not trying hard enough. That's sort of the philosophy that we have, and that is everything from on the safety side to our philosophy on building relationships with our customers. It's a very important part of this, very risky and dangerous business, and we do that better than anybody. And that's what led to us going out and trying to find another partner again. Hey, we've got this industry is growing so much, and there's so much investment, not only because of the population growth, the demand for energy, but just like I said earlier, like, dude, we're changing 100-year-old poles sometimes. Like the utility it's got no business with infrastructure that old out there, but it's that old. And so we've got this, latent maintenance that's overdue, and then you've got the demand growth, which is creating this, this industry. I'll call it the power transmission and distribution business has never been bigger. There's never been more opportunity, and we could see that from my dad's humble beginnings when he started his business in the '80s to now we're a nationwide contractor. Getting to know all these different utilities, you could just sort of read the tea leaves and see that there's a play to be made here, and we're a growth company, and that's sort of in our DNA. We love to growth of new customers, and growing existing customers is a great way to build people from within and create leaders, give them opportunity. We're a big promote from within type business philosophy, and that's what led us to hiring an investment banker and going out there and trying to find some equity investment, which leads us to our current predicament that we found ourselves in at the end of 2024.
Now that current, and Danielle Sabrina says you are the GOAT.
Thank you, Danielle. Great to see you.
Now, my question there becomes: let's talk about that current predicament. I mean, I have to tell you, knowing what it is, the way you call it's just current predicament, like to just kind of come in it so laissez-faire, like current predicament. Like let us know what this current predicament really is.
Yeah, this is a hostile takeover of a private family business, is what this is. There's no other way to say it. And I take that attitude because I've gone through the roller coaster of emotion of living through that, and I can't change what has happened. That is in the past. There are lessons that I've learned from that. If I was doing things over again, they probably would have taken a different approach. But essentially, a hostile takeover is when, in our situation, we couldn't reach amicable agreement with this investor. They didn't want to give up. They didn't take our rejection of them very kindly, and they found another way to come through the back door and gain ownership and control of this business.
How does that happen? I really still don't even understand that.
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, any business like ours that's growing has usually got some debt financing in the business. In our case, those debt financiers were in the business from a time when the company wasn't such a major player, especially in the Southwest United States. So we ended up becoming their largest portfolio, and I've heard many times from the bankers since, you never want to be the bank's largest account. And in these two banks, we were their largest account. And I think what it was is when we said, we're not going to take this private equity investment, we're going to go another way. We've got some ideas on how to raise some capital here, keep the business going. There were conversations had, not to our knowledge, where private equity firm ended up cutting a deal to buy the debt of the business, became the debtor of the business,
Oh,
and
wow.
then 7 days later called the loans.
Wow. PEs are really kind of become the 80s dirty, hostile takeover. We'll chop everything up. Have you just sidebar just in this? Have you heard about the whole thing with them buying up all the HVAC companies?
I have, yes.
Is that not insane?
It
Go look that up,
is.
folks. Like they're buying up like tons of family-owned HVAC companies and then paying for the likeness and of the owners so that they can still look like small family-owned. And then what they're doing is insane. Like, how is this still from the 80s to today still legal?
Yeah, yeah. I, I- knowing what I know now, and talking to people about it and getting some shared experience with it. There's a lot of private equity companies out there that are they've got the right perspective on responsible growth. And so I don't want to paint the entire private equity with the wrong brush. I mean, we've had private equity investors in this business in our careers before and have had great success. But I think there's a slice of that group that is so desperate to get into a space, especially as attractive as this space is and the growth potential. And they just couldn't take no for an answer, and found a way to make it happen. And is it dirty pool? Absolutely. Is it in violation of some legal agreements? I would say yes, absolutely. But that's the thing about when these sorts of things happen and they start to move down the train. It's really difficult to stop them. And in this case, we were unable to do that to stop it. And here we are with this transaction closing, and this family business, this business that I started 16 years ago, has been turned over to these people.
Now, I mean, and look, I'm not looking for legal things or any of that kind of stuff. And I have to say, Rachel just popped up. She says you are a resilient leader. Um, in all this, I mean, whatever you can tell us about, do you have any recourse to get anything back, or is it nope, we own the debt. Sorry about your luck. Pay it up or get out.
Yeah. I I would love to dive into some of the intimate details of that. I think some of those things are better, maybe left out of the details of this conversation.
Absolutely.
But I will say that it's for any entrepreneur out there. If I could give uh, any advice to an entrepreneur that's looking to go through a restructuring, bring in either debt or equity financing, it's really important to have a great legal team around you to look at all of those agreements. Make sure that if things like this, there's other things that probably could have happened, that you do have that recourse. So when the day comes, you can act on that and take the appropriate action.
Now that brings up a great point, and I'm always curious for this as an entrepreneur and building that legal team. Was there anything like you obviously you had a team, just generally, was there anything that you would step back now and say, you know what, this was the type of lawyer we were missing? Like, hey, we had general counsel, but this was the one we should have had.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have those guys, and general counsel is great, but in law, or I guess in anything, but especially in law, in this example, there are people who deal in mergers, acquisitions, deal making, and so things like jurisdiction of your agreements, structure of the business corporately, all of those things are important. The issue in this case is some of those things that possibly could have been maybe made us a little more resilient. You kind of, once you get going down the road of trying to bring in a trusted partner eventually here, you just kind of never think that, oh, we should, go through this massive restructuring to protect us in the event of this. So, there we were sort of left out to hang a little bit on that sort of thing.
Now, so I mean, so myself and any of our guests can have a better understanding. And real quick, folks, if you're just joining us and you want to know what Aaron's got going on, it's all on his Instagram. You can go to Aaron Rokstad, Rokstad, on Instagram. You can see what he's got going on. So my business isn't like, when you're talking like numbers like $500 million, like that's a huge number. 1,100 employees. You're in a different space than what I am. It's me and my son. We're in a different space right now. But for yourself, when you mentioned restructuring, is that something that, like, I don't fully understand what that is? I've heard the term before, but what does that mean for as an entrepreneur who maybe is pushing to those 5, 10, $20 million level? What does that mean for them?
Yeah. So the way I look at getting the structure of your business right is really around, your tolerance for risk or risk avoidance. And just let me elaborate on that a little bit, please. So obviously you want to get the structure of your business right for obvious reasons like tax purposes and whether you're an S corp or C corp or a sole proprietorship or something, to let the way that salary and dividend flows and the income generated from the business, how that gets to the founders or the directors, etc. But when you get to the level beyond that, and now you're thinking about operating risks, and I can give you an example. Operating in California, for example, is a lot different than operating in Texas. There's a level of litigiousness that exists in California. There is a level of environmental protection, air quality standards, etc. that in other states, they probably don't even know what those things mean. I mean, they know what they mean, but they're not part of their regular.
I understood what you meant. I understood what you meant exactly.
So, in that case, you don't want something like, the business in California, if it has a hiccup, sort of being able to drag down something happening elsewhere. So that's one example. Another example is if you've got multiple products or business lines and you're looking towards the future, growing one of those, or one of them is just a means to an end, and there's a bigger thing in play, and you want to be able to, I don't know, sell that service or sell that product off to somebody else that might find better value in it. There's a way to structure your business that way so that that's an easier thing to do. So that's what I mean around getting the structure of your business right. If you can, I work with a lot of different entrepreneurs and leaders, and as like a coach or a mentor, not as a professional, but just on the side. Right. It's something I love to do. I just love to talk to people about their business, and I'm curious, and I ask them a million questions. Watch out, I might do it to you later.
I'm all about it.
But getting the strategy right for your business of where you want it to be in 3 or 5 years and it's surprising to me how rare it is that somebody has got that sort of thinking out there. And I get it, because I've been in the survival mode. If I could just get to next month, if I could just get to 6 months. But you know what? It doesn't matter if your business is just you or your son, or you've got 1,100 people, or you're Elon Musk with SpaceX,
right,
blowing up his third rocket. Like, it's just more money, more problems. It's just zero. It's just more zeros. The problems are, the issue is still the same, which is, we've created this business. What are we doing with it? Where is it going? And the structure of your business should reflect what that outcome is. So in our case, multi-state, multi-province business in Canada, we ended up selling off in 2023. We ended up selling our business in Arizona because we had the structure set up the right way. That was a very easy transaction to do. The buyer found that really helpful. That was a great way for us to sort of raise capital in this interim period. And that was thanks to us having the right structure, sort of, the learnings from what happened in California a little earlier. So that's what I mean about getting the structure right of the business. Most people think about it like, how can I best protect myself from tax and flow money in and out of the company? But you really got to think about the end goal of this business. Are you building it to hold? Are you building it to sell? Is it and it's fine if you don't know that stuff, and the status quo of a great advisor or professional can help you with that. But as soon as you get that glimmer of, hey, I'm going to make a change here and go somewhere else, it is surprising to me how rare it is that people come back and really address the structure of their business, the share structure, the resilience, I'll call it, of that business.
Aaron, I've had a lot of entrepreneurs on, people that claim to be serial entrepreneurs, all kinds of folks, like all kinds of companies. I've never had someone break it down that way and in such a way that you could tell you understand the emotion of those things. Dude, I that was impressive.
Oh,
Really
thank you.
I got to tell you, like I said, I've had all kinds of entrepreneurs on here, and they're like, "Well, you got to do it." Like, you just broke it down that anybody should have been able to understand, and especially that part, as you said, understanding what your goal of your business is. I think too many people start a business because, well, I watched the guy around the corner, he shines shoes, and he makes money, so I want to make money, so I'll start my business, but with no purpose or goal. What are you doing with it? Again, folks, check out what Aaron's got going on. Aaron Rokstad on Instagram. So you're going through this entire process. You're building this takeover comes. I want to kind of shift from not the business side of it, because I think a lot of times people forget that we're humans also, even though we sit in a bigger chair than everybody else. What was it like for you bringing that home? Or I'm assuming your dad was still involved at that point and is still today, based on the way you're
Correct.
talking. What was that family dynamic, emotion, conversation like?
Yeah. I saw it impact members of my family differently. I've got a large but very close knit family, lots of cousins. And, you know, uh, I, we felt the support behind us for that. Um, and, but I saw it impact people in different ways. And, um, to me, it was the uncertainty of it all. Like what I mean there, Sean, is that I just kind of explained, what happened, sort of the highlights along the way. There were many points along the way where as you're riding this wave of, are we finding a way out of this, or are we not? And because uh, I didn't think I could work any harder than I have starting up the business and certain points of the business. Like that 6 months was the hardest I don't think I had a day off. And I mean, it was rare to even like have Sunday night to even watch like Sunday night football or something. Um, and we were just going for it. So, trying to find a way to survive through this and avoid that outcome. So it wasn't so much the what happened at the end. It was, I think, watching us go through this, and I won't say experimentation, but like I said, this team of advisors and trying all these different things to be creative, to be able to avoid the outcome here. And the roller coaster of emotion that came with that, I think, was the hardest thing on the family. I mean, my wife's a rock. She's my biggest supporter. I wouldn't even have been able to start the business 16 years ago if she didn't say, "Yeah, honey, I'm fine without taking a paycheck for a year." I don't think I told her that. I think I kind of that sort of sunk in a little after. Yeah,
Like, yay, babe.
yeah. But it was from where we sit now. What's happened has happened. It's all love. The family is banded together. We've made this decision to carry on, to persevere, to not quit. And the way we're looking at this is, we've got, thankfully, we enjoy such a great reputation in this industry, not only from our customers, from the customer delight side, but the way that we've come up and treated people and grown from within. And I know it's so corny to say, like, oh, it's a family, it's a family business, your family, but that family approach where people feel like they are part of the solution, they're also part of the problem. I mean, they're living it, the outpouring of support, all of that stuff. I just I know that no matter what we choose to do here, we're going to be successful in bootstrapping something else here. But it definitely it was a very difficult time, and definitely impacted people in the family different ways along the way.
I mean, and you hit on something. And I'm a firm believer in this. I was just talking to my mom. I don't know if you're a faithful man or not, but Proverbs mentions it as and I'm paraphrasing Proverbs, if that makes any sense, that the greatest gift to any man is a wife and marriage. And I can tell you right now, I couldn't do my business without my wife. That's how it happened. When I was a kid, my parents owned a liquor store and a bar. My dad couldn't have done that without my mom. So I firmly believe all those kind of things. So, and we're getting kind of close, folks. We're going to do it a little bit early with the New Scotland Spirits last call. We'll do last call a little bit early because I want to get into what Aaron's also his new adventures and what he's got happening here and how they're moving forward. But as we always say here, if you're looking for a spirit that is bold and rich as New York history, New Scotland Spirits is crafting exceptional locally sourced whiskey that tells the story with every sip. From grain to glass, we honor the tradition while pushing the boundaries of flavor. Whether you're a whiskey connoisseur or just getting started, there's a bottle waiting for you. Raise your glass to true craftsmanship. Find New Scotland Spirits near you or visit newscotlandspirits.com to learn more. New Scotland Spirits, where history and flavor meet. And look, here's one for you. I know you probably had some Kentucky bourbon, but out here in New York, they got a new thing. And I'm looking for my bottle here I'm finding their bottle of White Dog, and I'm going to ask you here in a minute what you're having. There it is. Have you ever had an Empire Rye?
I never have, no.
So that's a new thing here in New York. Kentucky bourbon, white barrels, blah, 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 all that. So now here in New York, they have Empire Rye. So it has to be 75%. I think 75% of the rye has to come from New York. And then it's considered as an Empire Rye because rye is a New York grain. And look, another Marine just showed up, Orchid. She's a former guest. Go check out what Orchid's got going on, folks. Drop your website there, Orchid. I'll remind everybody. She's got all kinds of kids' books and stuff about being a train conductor, and it is absolutely delicious. We'll look, if you ever next time you run into one of the guys from Albany, tell them to get you a bottle of New Scotland and bring it down to the crew base. Amtrak won't mind if one of them's hiding a bottle of liquor in their bag. But so you go through all this. Your family's. I mean, we're still going through it. I mean, and I understand that portion of it. You're still going through it, but I mean, you truly are that entrepreneurial spirit. That guy who's like, okay, you might knock me back on my heels for a minute, but reality of it is I'm gonna keep going. So what's the new adventures?
Yeah. Well, there was just one other point I wanted to make around, what is a business in the first place, other than, it's a collection of articles and bylaws and all of that stuff. And, that, and of course that then it has tax numbers and bank accounts and all that stuff that goes with it, payroll, workers' compensation, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, a business is the people that are in the business. And it is, and there's that old expression that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And and so the reason why I sit here today and I'm calm about it is because they can take that we've gone through that, and they can take that stuff away, but they can't take away your ability. They can't take away your spirit, and they can't take away the passion, the fire, the knowledge that you have to go and recreate and create something better and use this for fuel. Sean, in my entire career, I've never all of the stuff that we've done as a business has been because we just love the industry itself, the trade. It's great work. It's rewarding work. We've never really had a nemesis before, like I've never had that sort of Dr. Evil or whatever. And it's really sort of invigorating to have that, like, man, somebody actually like did us wrong here. What are we going to do to, get even or whatever, let alone just doing great business is a reward in itself, and everything that comes of being an entrepreneur. So anyway, that's something that we carry. We talk about that quite a bit. And, I think that's why we're so excited about what's coming in the future. But right now, what we're trying to do is just settle on a few things, get some of our affairs in order. Anytime you go through something like that, where, former CEO of a business, director of the business, founder of the business, I've got responsibilities like fiduciary duty, things like that, where maybe they're not, directly implied in my employment agreement, but, there's a certain sort of cooling off period. And again, thankful to the advisors around us. We've not going out and doing anything to get us into hot water. But all I will say is that the Rokstad name has been synonymous with being a leader in this industry since the 70s, and it's not going to stop. And just because I don't have that company anymore, that collection of articles and bank account, I don't care. They can have it. They got it. We're going to create something bigger, better. And, if folks want to keep an eye out for what we're up to there, hit us up. But maybe on a return visit, Sean, in a couple years or something like that, I will be hailing all of the things that we've done to not only, go and create a great culture business again, but, get that sort of level of revenge or satisfaction that comes with a nemesis.
Well, I mean, brother, let's pause for a second. You've already said you had the UK version of Enron fall on top of you. You've had other things, the whole California piece fall on top of you. And now this, I mean, you guys know how to put it back together.
We do.
How to make it happen. I mean, I don't know who this other guy is who's got headphones on named Brody Rokstad, but I don't know who that guy is, but he agrees with what Rachel said. And Orchid doesn't even know you, and she's saying she believes in you. I mean, you're selling it already, brother. So I mean,
awesome.
Picking up these pieces, and you've already said it. You've got a great support system around you. You're putting pieces together around you. Is it? And listen, you can tell me, Murph. I can't tell you everything yet, but is it? Oh, excuse me. I don't know where that came from. Is it the energy piece? Are we staying? Because that's your wheelhouse is line work and energy and that stuff. Are we staying there, or is it a complete right turn and all of a sudden you're going to be professional basket weavers? I mean, what are we talking here?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So that is actually the exciting part about, being able to take a step back, take a breather, and I guess maybe back to that, set out that strategy example again. There's so much stuff happening in this space that we didn't really look at before, and I can give you a couple of examples of that. And I'm sure, to the folks out there that are watching, that are following what's going on in AI, and the Chinese being able to develop an AI model for cheaper, quicker, etc. That isn't going to stop. Like, the amount of demand for data centers and is astronomical. And what you find is these data centers, They can't wait 6, 7, 8 years for a utility to get their poop together to give them power, 400 megawatts or a gigawatt of power. They're building their own small nuclear cogen fired plants to fuel their own data centers. That's how much power they need. That has never happened before. Okay, maybe back in the steel producing days in Pennsylvania, where some of the American Steel and stuff, where they did that, but we're talking a scale that is completely different. So you got things like that where there's a massive opportunity there. You've got we just had the fires in LA. I talked a little earlier about some of the stuff that happened in Maui with the Lahaina fires. And so you're seeing these utilities, unfortunately, to the consumer, really invest a lot of money in their grids, which they're going to pass on to us as consumers. Right. And that's really trying to pass off the lack of action in the last 20, 30, 40 years, because they've got to modernize it all. And there are so many parts of this electrical grid that, if a tree falls on a wire outside of the city, there's no way to diagnose that or treat that. And you got to send somebody out. And usually it's the middle of the night. And as we, as a society, turn to more, we've got to have 99.999% uptime, and our phones are mining crypto or whatever, they're the AI, all of that stuff. Like, you just think about the different technologies and the demand on power, and some of the alternative power. And so, yeah, I think, our history is the line work and the linemen that do that work and all the equipment that comes with it, the really creative methods and some of the wonderful and wild projects that we've done before. And I would love to continue that. But we also have to recognize that this industry is changing. And I'm not saying that linemen are at risk of a job. If there's anybody out there listening that is on the fence of trying to, they want to get a career and they're thinking about a trade, please look into the line trade. It is one of the best trades out there. The guys are paid well. They love their job. I know so many linemen that have the work that they do tattooed all across their body. It becomes part of their identity. They love it. Young people, become a lineman. You won't regret it. So yeah, that whole thing, but being able to look at what's happening in the future is really exciting. And like I said, we're in this period where we're thinking, making connections, networking, telling this story out there. And the response we're getting from these different people in different industries, I really think we're going to have the ability to leverage the reputation and experience we have, bring that knowledge into some of these emerging, I'll call them, opportunities in the power space.
Dude, I love that energy. Well, and Annie G says, may I be one in the family that says, so excited to hear your next business venture. And Oregon said, it's popping on the lines right now. I don't know what that means. And I know she's married. Maybe I thought her husband was a railroader too, but maybe he's a linesman. I don't know. But and it's funny you were talking about the different ventures. You may have seen this recently. Do you see where they're putting data centers on top of the oil wells in the Midwest, using the gases that are coming off to produce electric power, like this whole process? And they're like, yeah, we don't know how long it's going to last, but we figure this data center could sit here for a good 20, 30 years based on the gases that are coming out of here. And the power's direct at that point.
Exactly.
Oh, she says, no, all over social media, people are talking about linemen and their jobs and their wives. Yeah, like I've never, and Aaron will probably tell me I'm a crazy man, but I've known a few of them growing up, but I ain't never met a broke one. They all got nice trucks.
Yeah,
and they all,
very true.
They might do some, I ain't never met a broke one personally. Just like, I didn't even met too many broke railroaders. I mean, this is incredible. So, I mean, can we get a taste of what the next, do we know? Can we get a taste? Anything?
I really wish I could, but I'll take it back to that. I'm sorry, bud. Back to that fiduciary duty. Yeah, I really wish I could.
All right. Well, so as we do on every episode, and one of my partners isn't here right now, he would ask you this question, so I'll ask it for him. So we always are curious about people's go-to meals after things. So like after like a big project, like, hey, I mean, obviously you're in Texas, you had all the lines that went down after the ice storms a couple of years ago. You got the Hawaii things. Is there like a go-to meal for either Aaron or for the Rockstads that like, hey, we've accomplished this. This is our go-to meal?
Oh man. My kids are really into In-N-Out, and we have been just smashing that place. So
Well, you got to tell everybody what. So you're international right now, so not everybody knows what an In-N-Out is.
yeah, In-N-Out is a West Coast burger chain, and they make it fresh to order. There's just something about that place. The burgers are just amazing. So my go-to meal is a couple burgers and a vanilla milkshake. When we're celebrating. Um, but when we get together, my mom makes this unbelievable lasagna, and we request it every time, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I think it drives her bananas because it takes her so long to make. But anybody who eats that lasagna is like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And yeah, so that's a little home cooking would be my mom's lasagna. But if we're celebrating and it's not a steakhouse or something like that, it's the In-N-Out burger chain.
Monster style
Yeah, you got animal style.
or animal style? That's it.
Animal style, yep.
My
Animal
my West
style.
Coast time is very limited through the Marine Corps, but see, if I'm on the left coast, it's got to be ultimate double bacon cheeseburger from Jack in the Crack. Like
There you go.
that burger is just ignorant. There's nothing on fast food wise on the East Coast burger places. There's like Five Guys can't hold a candle to that. Like, and Five Guys is good, but
Yeah.
at Jack in the Crack Ultimate. So, look, folks, as I've said a bunch of times here, if you want to know more about what Aaron's got going on, you want to learn more about Rokstad Energy, or, I can't say, and he would never allow me to say something like reaching out and sending a nasty gram to the folks that took over. I would never allow him to say
No, I
that. I would never allow it to be said. So I'm telling you right now, don't do it at all. I don't want to hear anything about it. I don't want any repercussions in that way. So you all heard me, right? I'm gonna make that real clear. Did I make it clear enough for everybody, Aaron?
I think so. Loud and clear,
I'm, ma-
bud.
I'm making it very clear to everyone. So make sure you checking out Aaron. Give him lots of follows over on Instagram. And again, here we're always looking for lots of follows, likes, shares, all those things. But if you're curious, what to continue following us, next week we have a gentleman. Let's see, the orchids are here. Oh, fine. We have a gentleman coming on. I've known him for a lot of years. He's here in the capital region. His name's Alan Baker. Alan and I are going to be talking about marketing, local marketing and networking, and the value of local networking groups. I can't imagine for you, Aaron, like when you guys were first starting, how important was networking, local networking groups for you guys?
Oh, unbelievable. Like you can't even it's hard to even assign a value to it because it's almost everything.
Yeah, so somebody recently referred to it to me as you have to treat it like paid marketing. Going in like, hey, who am I going to see? Who's my target market? How much am I going to spend? What's my efforts? All those kind of things. Who's Sophia Rokstad? Who's
Oh,
that?
that's my oldest daughter.
Well,
Look at
she
that.
says you are an inspiration to her every day.
Oh,
Sophia, as a dad, there's no better reward in the world than one of our kids saying that. So you're
no
an
kidding.
amazing daughter. I'll say it for your dad. You're an amazing daughter.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Someone's cutting onions in here. What's going on?
Don't do that, man. There's onions being cut all over the place. So make sure you're joining us. It's every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do this. So now, Aaron, I appreciated what you told me earlier, that you spent the time to know all about us. Check out a couple of episodes. So we'll find out here in a moment if you really had gotten into it. So at the end of every episode, we always let the guest have the final word. And don't log off on me right afterwards because we got to talk for a minute here.
Okay, you got it.
What is the final word for tonight?
Yes, I was thinking about that a little earlier. I led earlier with the, what is a business, other than a collection of, looking at that through the lens of it's a bunch of documents, a bunch of stuff, but really it's the energy and creativity behind it. And so my final word, and I guess this will come across as a little bit of advice to an entrepreneur, to be able to survive so many shifts in strategy or speed bumps along the way, you have to be able to find this infinite source of energy and push, because people are looking to you as the leader. What's next? Where are we going next? And one of the biggest things for me was finding a health and fitness, mental health and physical fitness journey. And, around 10 years ago, that was something I really needed to focus on, and I did that. And I am so thankful that that was something that I could rely on as going through this. If I look at it like, if I wasn't able to make gains in my business, I was making gains at the gym. So I was, having success somewhere. So find something that you can have success even when your business goes through the inevitable ups and downs, and that really helps you with your mindset and smooth out those dark periods, gives you the confidence that things are going to be okay, the sun is going to come up tomorrow. And in those times is where you find your source of creativity and your ability to people see you doing that work and they see you leading. So sort of maybe a different take on what I heard from some of the other podcasts that I listened to, Sean. But that was something that really helped me go through these times and has galvanized me even more as a leader, and has equipped me to be the leader I know I need to be to get this next venture off the ground and make it successful.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.